Grabe, napanood niyo ba yung sa Bubblegum?
Aling segment doon?
Yung si Tatalino?
Ay, oo, love trip yun eh.
Oo, lagi ko nga pinapanood yun eh.
Pwede kayo magtanong sa kanya? Tatanong ko sana ako kailan ako magkabebe.
Pwede naman ata magtanong doon. Alam ko may Facebook yun eh. Tignan ko, hanapin ko, tas i-add ko.
Pag in-accept ka, tawagan natin. May tatanong din ako. Kayo ba guys?
Aba, oo naman, yung about sa assignment ko.
Oo, tatanong ko kung yayaman ba ako sa 2025.
Ito, in-accept na ako.
Tara, tawagan na agad yan.
Hello?
Tatalino, kailan ba ako magkabebe?
Tatalino? Paano po ba ako tatalino?
Tatalino, yayaman ba ako?
Tatalino, magiging artista ba ako?
Teka. Isa-isa lang, easy.
Hala, sino kang impostor ka? Hindi naman ikaw si Tatalino ah.
Ako si Tatalina, ang asawa ni Tatalino. Ang ekspertong tagapayo. Wala siya ngayon eh, nasa kabundukan sila may shooting.
Ako na lang magtatanong, sa susunod na araw na lang kayo guys, may assignment kasi ako eh.
Pero sa isang kondisyon. Isang tanong lang sinasagot ko sa isang araw eh.
Ano ba yan? Ang daya naman.
Tatalina, kilala mo ba si Edward Thorndike?
Aba, oo naman. Wait lang share screen ko lang para makakilala mo siya.
Edward Lee Thorndike was born on August 31, 1874 in Williamsburg, Massachusetts, then died on August 9, 1949. He is best known for the law of effect, often called the father of modern educational psychology, animal research, and trial and error theory of learning. Edward Thorndike was an influential psychologist who is often referred to as the founder of modern educational psychology. He was perhaps best known for his famous puzzle box experiments with cats which led to the development of his law of effect. Edward Thorndike was the son of a Methodist minister and grew up in Massachusetts. While he was a very successful student, he initially disliked his first psychology course. Like many other psychologists of his time, Thorndike's interest in psychology grew after reading the classic book of William James, which is the Principle of Psychology. When he graduated from Wesleyan University in 1895 with a Bachelor's of Science degree, Thorndike then enrolled at Harvard University to study English and French literature. During his first semester, however, he took a psychology course taught by William James and soon decided to switch his study concentration to psychology. He later moved on to Columbia University, where he studied under the guidance of psychologist James McKim Cattell. After earning his PhD from Columbia in 1898, Thorndike briefly took a position as an assistant professor of pedagogy at Western Reserve University. In the year 1900s, Thorndike married Elizabeth Moulton. He then took a job as a psychology professor at the Teachers College at Columbia University, where he would continue to teach for the rest of his career. His work on comparative psychology and the learning process led to the theory of connectionism and helped lay the scientific foundation for educational psychology. He was also a member of the Board of Psychological Corporation and served as the president of American Psychological Association or the APA in 1912.
So, kilala mo na ba siya?
Oo, grabe Tatalina. Sobrang linaw. May masasagot na ako sa assignment.
Tatalina, ang talino nyo talaga, pati si Tatalino. Tatalino rin po ba kami katulad nyo?
Oo nga, Tatalina. Pwede rin ba kami maging matalino?
Aba, oo naman. Marami nang tumalino na lumapit sa amin ni Tatalino eh. Kaso, may kamahalan nga lang.
Magkano naman yan, Tatalina?
Mga, 100k per head. Carry nyo ba?
Pabili rin ako, Tatalina.
Pa-order din, Tatalina.
Ako din!
O sige, dahil mapilit kayo, send nyo na lang sa akin via Gcash ha. Send ko na lang sa inyo, PM ko na lang. Kaso, bago ko ibigay sa inyo ang katalinuhan, pumikit muna kayo para sa orasyon. At sa huli, sasagutin nyo ang katanungan ko. Okay?
Sa isang malayong gubat ay may isang ermitanyo na dinadayo ng mga tao dahil sa galing niyang magbigay ng mga payo. Madalas matalinghaga at malalim ang mga sagot niya. Siya ay si...
Tatalino!
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 Dahil naibigay ko na rin sa inyo ang katalinuhan, marahil ay kaya nyo na rin sumagot ng mga katanungan.
Oo, Tatalina, grabe. Ramdam kong sobrang talino ko na.
Magaling kung ganoon.
Pero Tatalina, parang ang sakit naman sa bulsa ng 100k. Wala bang discount dyan?
Pero sa isang kondisyon, dahil nabanggit ko si Thorndyke kanina at meron na rin ko katalinuhan, gusto ko sagutin nyo rin ang aking mga tanong, okay? Tsaka ko babawasan ng 30% ang singil ko sa inyo. Gusto kong malaman yung mga theories, principles, laws of learning, experiments, tsaka criticism kay Thorndyke. Okay ba yun?
Sige, Tatalina. Ako na sa theories.
Ako na sa principal.
Ako na sa laws of learning.
Ako na sa experiment.
Ako na sa criticisms.
Magaling, magaling. Sige ha. Share screen nyo yan, makikinig ako.
Let's start. Theory of connectionism. First, let us identify what is the theory of connectionism all about. We all know that Edward Thorndike is an American educational psychologist in which he introduced that learning is a direct acquire between stimulus and responses. Connectionism is a theory that pertains to mental processes that can be described as an operation or inhibited and even acquired learning between stimuli and response. When we say stimuli or stimulus, it pertains on something that may cause someone to react and act upon receiving stimuli on a certain environment. While when we say response, it just simply explains a given reaction to a stimuli. Thorndike believes that stimuli and response are connected on a person's mind. For example, a person who see flavored or yung favorite niya flavored ice cream or cake, nagtetend siya na magkaroon ng cravings, drooling doon sa kanyang nakikitang flavored ice cream or cake. Kasi nga, ang stimuli doon ay yung flavored na ice cream or cake. And then yung response niya doon is mag-crave siya kasi nga favorite niya. Those connection between stimulus and response is called stimulus-response bond or SR bond. This only means that the stronger the SR bond, the stronger that a person will acquire the learning from those stimulus and response. For example, si student ay active in reviewing and reading different kinds of scope in examination. Ang tend niya is magkaroon siya ng knowledge, background about dun sa magiging exam niya, and then possibly magkaroon siya ng mataas na grade or makapasa. While si other student naman is hindi siya ganun ka-focus or ka-active sa pagre-review. And ang tendency nun ay mag-failed or magkaroon siya ng mababang grade. The stimulus on that kind of situation is the reviewing, the reading pattern of a student, while the response will be the dependable grade. If the student read or review in a kind of situation and examination.
Thorndike's theory consists of three primary laws. Number one is law of effect. Responses to a situation which are followed by a rewarding state of affairs will be strengthened and become habitual responses to that situation. So example nito is kapag yung teacher masayang magturo and talagang na-engage yung estudyante sa pagtuturo ng teacher, mas madali para sa estudyante na unawain at maintindihan yung lesson ng teacher. Kesa sa teacher na boring magturo, so mapapansin naman na kapag boring nga magturo yung teacher, students tend to fall asleep or hindi binibigyang pansin yung lesson na tinuturo ng teacher. And in the end, walang naiintindihan, kumbaga lumalabas lang sa magkabilang tenga yung tinuturo ng teacher. Next example is, nagluto ka. Then sa niluto mo is nasarapan yung mga pinatikim mo. So next time na magluluto ka is ganatong-ganato ka kasi nga nasarapan sila sa luto mo. And next nun, kung hindi naman nila nagustuhan yung luto mo, so parang mapapasabi ka na sa sarili mo na, okay, it will be the last time na magluluto ako kasi parang wala naman naka-appreciate ng luto mo or hindi naman nila nagustuhan. So it was a law of effect. Next law is law of readiness. It is a series of responses can be chained together to satisfy some goal which result in annoyance if blocked. So from the word readiness, ang masasabi kong example dito is yung bata. Kapag tinuruan mo yung bata at hindi pa siya willing matuto, hindi talaga siya matututo. So kumbaga parang magiging irritable lang siya every time na tinuturuan mo siya. Next is, sinabihan kayo na may recitation na magaganap on the other day. So, ikaw bilang nasabihan and masipag na estudyante, nag-aral ka talaga para sa recitation na yon. And when that day comes, tas ikaw yung tinawag ng teacher mo, so nasagot mo yung question niya. Kasi nga, you prepared and you study well. But on the other hand, kapag tinawag ka at hindi mo alam yung sagot, so talaga mapapakamot ulo ka na lang and you feel annoyed for that circumstances. Last law is law of exercise. Connections become strengthened with practice and weaken when practice is discontinued. A corollary of the law of effect was that responses that reduce the likelihood of achieving a rewarding state, example is punishments or failures, will decrease in strength. And this law has two aspects, which this is a law of use and law of disuse. In law of use, when a modifiable connection is made between a situation and a response, that connections strengthen or strength is other things being equal increased. And ang example niya para sa law na to is exam. So kapag may exam is, syempre inaaral natin yung lesson na yon, mine-memorize natin at iniintindi natin yung lesson na yon. So para pagdating ng exam is alam natin yung isasagot natin, tsaka para mataas yung grade na makuha natin sa exam na yun kasi nga alam natin yung isasagot natin at in-exercise or inaral natin yung lesson para sa exam na yon. And on the other hand is the law of disuse, in where when a modifiable connection is not made between a situation and response over a length of time, which connection's strength is decreased. So, halimbawa naman dito is yung dun pa rin sa inaral nating lesson. So, syempre, after we take the exam, we also tend to forget the lesson that we study. So, in the long run is hindi na natin siya matatandaan kasi we did not retain the information that we used to learn or yung knowledge natin about that particular situation is wala na. So, kumbaga, hindi mo na siya memorize. Wala na sa isip mo yun or nakalimutan mo na kung ano yung mismong inaral mo kasi nga, you tend to stop studying about it.
Sa the law of readiness, ito yung current terminologies. When someone is ready to perform some act,
to do so is satisfying. 2. When someone is ready to perform some act, not to do so is annoying. 3. When someone is not ready to perform some act and it is forced to do so, it is annoying. Principles. 1. Learning requires both practice and rewards. Ito ay base sa law of effect and law of exercise. Ang law of effect is responses to a situation which are followed by a rewarding state of affairs will be strengthened and become habitual responses to the situation. At ang law of exercise is connections become strengthened with practice and weaken when practice is discontinued. 2. A series of SR connections can be chained together if they belong to the same action and sequence. Ito ay base sa law of readiness. Ang law of readiness is a series of responses can be chained together to satisfy some goal which will result in annoyance if blocked. 3. Transfer of learning occurs because of previously encountered situation. So, ayun nga. Transfer of learning occurs gradually and systematically as the client practices the same strategy during activities that gradually differ in physical appearance and complexity. 4. Intelligence is a function of the number of connections learned. Thorndike believed that a person with high intelligence differs on how they connect things from the past learnings in order to solve a certain task. In solving different tasks, there's an experience which contributes to your knowledge to solve a problem. The infinite connections of the learner based on its experiences can become an advantage in solving every task. In conclusion, Thorndike said that real intelligence is how we put our past knowledge from our latest problem in order to find a solution or to make peace with the problem.
Thorndike's puzzle box experiment. The puzzle box is the laboratory device that Edward Lee Thorndike invented in order to study instrumental or operant conditioning in cats. Thorndike placed cats in boxes from which they had to escape to get food. He then observed that the cat in its attempt to get out of the box eventually triggered the mechanism that opened the door and allowed it to escape. After much trial and error, the cat learned to associate pressing the lever or stimulus with the opening of the door or the response. Thorndike returned the cat to the box and the cat escaped in less than time of previous. Thorndike continued to place the cat in the box and it escaped within shorter and shorter time periods. The cat tended to repeat the behavior that led to escape and not repeat the behaviors that were ineffective. Thorndike concluded from his observations that the learning of a response to a stimulus is affected by the consequence of a behavior. A stimulus-response connection is established. Edward Thorndike put forward a law of effect. The law stated that any behavior that is followed by pleasant consequences is likely to be repeated, and any behavior followed by unpleasant consequences is likely to be stopped.
Criticism of connectionism of Thorndike. Thorndike's critics claimed that his experimental environments were too restrictive and that his learning methods ignored the nuances of human behavior. Ang sinasabi po dito is yung theory daw ni Thorndike is parang dinedeny ng mga psychologists or ng mga school because parang kiniklaim nila na ang learning kasi is pinapa yun nasa sa atin na yun or nasa human behavior na yun. But Thorndike's hypothesis of learning is extremely criticized by distinctive schools of psychologists. The behaviorists deny the law of impact and claim that recurrence is the foremost vital guideline of learning which makes a difference in all sorts of maintenance. So, ayun nga po, parang inaano dito ng mga psychologists, dinedeny nila yung theory ni Thorndike And may school na parang kinikriticize talaga yung law of theory ni Thorndike. Ang school na yun is Gestaltian School. And parang iyon, yung school na yun, iyon yung ayun yung parang sobrang kinikriticize yung law ni Thorndike. Because learning isn't simply the organization of autonomous units of behavior, and there's no building up handle just like the arrangement. The psychologists of this school fight that the connection between circumstance and reaction as of now exists in an involvement which is seen as entirety. Thorndike's law of effect and Puzzleback's methodology were subjected to detailed criticism by behaviorists and many other psychologists. The criticisms over the law of effect mostly cover four aspects of the theory: the implied or retroactive working of the effect, the philosophical implication of the law, the identification of the effective conditions that cause learning, the comprehensive usefulness of the law.